Hi guys, I'm Libertman, forced to be alone but free to decide how to live it. Welcome to the first live stream of the day. Today we're going to be addressing something that looks like apathy but from the outside. That looks like apathy from the outside but doesn't feel like apathy from the inside. Men who are not depressed, men who are not hopeless, men who still function, but who slowly lose direction. They wake up, do what needs to be done, go to sleep, and somewhere along the way, purpose evaporates. No breakdown, no crisis, just drift. So this live stream is about that state, not as a personality flaw, but as a neuromotivational shift under emotional load, which most men currently are going through right now. And for this topic, I have selected a scientific paper by Treadway and Zald that is titled Reconsidering Anhedonia in Depression, Lessons from Translational Neuroscience. And you can find, as always, the link to this study in the description. So, first, it is necessary to clarify that this scientific paper is not about sadness, despair, or lack of ability or laziness. It's about anhedonia, specifically motivational anhedonia. That distinction is critical. So, as usual, I will start reading some excerpts from the study and then commenting. It says, anhedonia is not a unitary construct and may reflect deficits in motivation, reward learning, or effort-based decision-making rather than diminished pleasure per se. Well, this sentence explains this drift phenomenon better than most pop psychology ever has. Loss of purpose is often not a loss of pleasure, a loss of interest, or a loss of desire. It is loss of willingness to invest effort. Men still enjoy things when they happen, but they no longer feel the internal pull to pursue them. So life becomes reactive instead of directed towards something fulfilling. I go on reading. Individuals may report intact hedonic responses while showing reduced willingness to exert effort to obtain rewards. In this line, it is explained why drift is so confusing, both to men and to others. From the outside, people can say, he seems fine, he still enjoys things, he's capable. But from the inside, initiating feels heavy for that man. Future planning feels pointless, goals feel abstract, effort feels disproportionate. Nowadays, it has no comparison with even 20 years ago. This is not emotional collapse, it's motivational shutdown. And how emotional load produces drift. The paper shows that chronic stress and emotional burden affect the reward valuation, the effort cost computation, and the anticipation of payoff. When effort feels expensive and payoff feels uncertain, the brain adapts. It stops pushing. So this is not conscious resignation, it's a neuroeconomic recalibration from the system. The system says, don't spend energy unless return is guaranteed. But purpose requires an uncertain investment. So why this hits men especially hard? Well, we need to make a careful framing here. The study does not say men experience this more, but men are socialized to tie identity to output, to measure worth through achievement, and to suppress emotional signaling. So when emotional load accumulates, men don't express distress. They don't renegotiate goals. They don't downshift expectations. They just stop reaching, and purpose vanishes silently. So many times drift is often mistaken for depression, but it's not the same. Depression involves sadness, hopelessness, and negative self-beliefs, while drift implies neutrality, emotional flatness, and a kind of absence of pull. Men in drift often say, nothing is wrong, but I just don't care enough to move. So that is motivational anhedonia, not despair. So why drift can last for years? This paper explains that motivational deficits don't produce immediate pain, don't force attention, and don't disrupt functioning. So drift becomes stable over time. it's like this analogy or metaphor of the frogs boiling in gradually in a mild stove, but over time they get stable in their temperature and they don't notice that they are being cooked. So men adapt to low ambition, to narrow routines, to short time horizons, and gradually life shrinks, and not in a dramatic way, but steadily. So let's also clarify what this study does not claim. This study does not claim a permanent shutdown or irreversible loss of purpose or a male-only vulnerability. It describes mechanisms, not destinies. Drift is not a life sentence, but it will not self-correct without awareness. So if you are enjoying this live stream or video replay by now, I would highly appreciate you liking the video and sharing this with other people that may be benefited by this content, and subscribing to the channel. That would be of high support. So now let's try to depict this drift phenomenon across the four C4PC macro groups, and explain and try to explain why some men drift quietly while others burn out. Let's try to see how purpose can be rebuilt without a forced motivation, an unnatural kind of motivation. So by now, if you are getting into the live stream right now, we are reading a scientific study by Treadway and Zald called Reconsidering Anhedonia in Depression, Lessons from Translational Neuroscience. And making difference, trying to distinguish between the difference between drift and depression, how anhedonia hits men in these current times. Anhedonia is the difficulty to distinguish your own emotions and not feeling or not knowing, not being able to name how you feel. So one reason drift is so dangerous is that it doesn't feel like a problem, especially at first. Men in drift often report no intense sadness, no panic, no crisis. Instead, they feel emotionally neutral, they feel functionally adequate, and quietly disengaged, not severely. Because pain at that initial stage is low and the sense of urgency is low. So the system is not screaming, it's just sending like a mild alarm. But that kind of a slow notification system can last for years. And why purpose disappears before suffering disappears? before suffering appears. Well, I will continue reading an interesting line on this way. It says, deficits in effort-based decision-making may reduce engagement in goal-directed behavior even when reward sensitivity remains intact. So purpose requires effort before reward. When effort feels expensive and payoff feels uncertain, the brain opts out, not consciously and not philosophically, but biologically. This is why many men say, I don't know what I want anymore. It's not a confusion of values. It's a reduced drive to pursue values. And why advice in general fails in this drift state of being? Most advice assumes if you want it badly enough, you will act in certain way. But drift is precisely the state where wanting doesn't translate into action. So advice like set goals, find your passion, bro, push yourself, doesn't work because it ignores the effort cost imbalance described in the study. Drift cannot be solved by motivation alone. It requires some recalibration, not exhortation, morally, philosophically, or to lift up someone's mood. The same motivational shutdown produces very different life outcomes depending on personality structure. So let's break it down in the four macro group of the C4PC model. In the case of the internal rationals, drift shows up as retreating into abstraction, as a loss of long-term projects, as intellectual stagnation masked as contemplation, and internal rational risk falling into existential detachment and shrinking their future horizon, and getting stuck into waiting mode that never ends. So what helps the internal rationals? Well, somehow to pursue some new purpose framed as systems to build, not goal to chase. And start pursuing slow and autonomous projects. And pursuing a new meaning without social pressure. In the case of the internal emotionals, drift shows up as emotional numbness, as loss of meaning, or quiet grief without sadness. They are at risk of an identity diffusion or experiencing an internalized shame, saying to themselves, something's wrong with me, or extending that period of time, of withdrawal time. So what helps the internal emotional? Well, re-anchoring to values rather than outcomes of their new projects, getting meaning through contribution, not through achievements, and trying to look for emotional safety before the ambition of of new projects. In the case of the external rationals, drift shows up as burnout disguised as pragmatism, getting stuck in short-termism, only looking for quick wins and short-term projects. That is what I intended. If I pronounce it correctly, short-termism. That is what I wanted to say. And also by abandoning a long-term vision. The external rational are at risk of cynicism, of compulsive productivity without direction, and also by experiencing a collapse after overextension for too long. What helps the external rational is redefining success thresholds, having an strategic rest, and setting new goals that serve their identity, not their ego. And then for the external emotionals, drift shows up as loss of enthusiasm, as emotional exhaustion, and through impulsive disengagement. External emotional are at risk of identity fragmentation, of constant novelty constant novelty seeking without fulfillment, and oscillating between intensity and apathy. What helps the external emotionals is to find some new stable routines that conserve the energy, and getting fewer but deeper commitments, and setting boundaries around emotional labor in all their relationships. So how drift ends and how it doesn't. Drift rarely ends through inspiration, through motivation videos, through external pressure or guilt. Drift ends when effort costs are lowered, are reduced. Drift ends when meaning is rebuilt incrementally, and the sense of identity is re-anchored. The brain must relearn that investment is worth it. And that takes time, it takes safety, and it takes realistic horizons. So this is about rebuilding purpose without forcing it, which is not something easy to do, but it is what now is being known as required to get out of this state or situation. So purpose doesn't return as a lightning bolt. It returns as small commitments, tolerable effort, and predictable rewards. Even if they are small. Men don't need to find themselves. They need to re-enter motion, but without overload. So purpose follows movement, not the other way around. So this drift phenomenon is not laziness, it's not weakness, it's not failure. It's what happens when emotional load silently shuts down the circuits that make effort feel worthwhile again. Understanding that doesn't excuse stagnation. but it removes false shame. From clarity, direction can be revealed. So I hope this live stream have thrown some clarity about this topic, and hopefully it has been helpful to you. If that was the case, please help the channel with your like and subscribing to the channel and sharing and leaving your comment in the comment section. So much courage, take care, and see you in the next one.